There are 5 things the most powerful people in any room do when someone disrespects them, and none of them are what you think. Because here's what nobody tells you about disrespect. Your natural response, the one that feels right, the one that feels justified, is exactly what destroys your position. Every time, without exception. The strategists and power brokers who've studied human behavior for centuries understood something most people never learn. They mapped the invisible rules of how respect is won and lost, and what they found was uncomfortable, radical, and completely at odds with everything you've been taught about standing up for yourself. Today, I'm going to show you all 5 strategies, but more than that, I'm going to show you why they work. Because understanding the mechanism is what separates someone who uses these once and forgets them from someone who carries them permanently. These aren't theories. These are patterns that have repeated themselves across every boardroom, every relationship, every social circle in human history. The people who disrespect you are counting on your ignorance of these patterns. They're betting you'll react emotionally instead of strategically. That ends today. But before we get into it, I need to say something important. This is not about becoming cold. This is not about suppressing who you are. This is about protection, about understanding the difference between a response that feels powerful in the moment and a response that is powerful in the long run. That distinction will change everything. Here's what most people don't understand. You were trained from childhood to react. Someone hits you, you hit back. Someone insults you, you defend yourself. Someone questions your worth, you prove them wrong. That training felt like strength. It wasn't. It was just reaction. And reaction is the language of someone who hasn't learned the rules yet. Let's get into it. The first strategy seems completely counterintuitive until you understand exactly why it works. When someone disrespects you, never defend yourself immediately. Read that again. Most people, the moment someone takes a shot at them, rush to explain themselves, to clarify, to correct the record. And it feels right. It feels like the honorable move. But watch what it actually does. Defense signals that the accusation landed. It tells the person across from you that they found something, a nerve, a vulnerability, a crack in the wall. And the moment they know that, they know where to keep hitting. Think about the most powerful people you've ever been around, the ones who commanded a room without demanding it. When someone challenged them, questioned them, disrespected them, did they immediately explain themselves? Did they scramble to prove the accusation wrong? No. They paused, they observed, they said nothing. And that silence did something that words never could. It created uncertainty in the other person's mind. Because they expected a reaction, they prepared for a reaction, they needed a reaction to know their shot landed. And when it didn't come, they started questioning themselves. Maybe the insult was beneath him. Maybe she's planning something I can't see. Maybe I miscalculated. This psychological unraveling happens entirely inside their head while you do nothing. You've turned their weapon against you without touching it. Modern psychology confirms this pattern completely. When you defend yourself, you actually activate the other person's conviction that they're right. Their brain registers your reaction as confirmation. You were literally rewarding them for the disrespect. But silence? Silence cracks certainty. It shifts the power dynamic without a single word leaving your mouth. Think about the last time someone disrespected you and you immediately defended yourself. Did it make them respect you more, or did they double down? The powerful simply observe and remember. They catalog each offense. They say nothing in the moment because they understand that silence is a weapon sharper than any immediate retaliation. But silence alone isn't enough if you don't know when to use it, which brings us to the second strategy. Choose your battles with ruthless precision. The people who lose at this, the ones who burn through their credibility and their energy and their alliances, they don't lose because they're weak, they lose because they fight everything. Every slight, every provoked look, every minor challenge to their position. They exhaust themselves defending against things that didn't matter, while the real threats grow stronger in the background. Here's what the sharpest people understand. Power isn't about winning every confrontation. Power is about identifying which battles determine your survival and ignoring everything else. When someone disrespects you in a way that doesn't threaten your actual position, let it pass. Not because you're weak, because you're strategic. The moment you react to every disrespect, you become predictable. Your opponents learn exactly which buttons to push. They drain you with meaningless provocations while preparing the real attack you'll be too exhausted to counter. This is how the weak defeat the strong, not through direct confrontation, through depletion. The people who last, in organizations, in relationships, in any social structure, aren't the ones who defended their honor most fiercely. They're the ones who saved their response for battles that actually mattered. They appeared almost indifferent to minor insults. Then, when someone crossed a line that threatened something real, they responded with such force that nobody considered crossing that line again. This creates something important: calculated unpredictability. People can't manipulate you if they can't predict when you'll respond. Some disrespect you absorb completely, some you dismantle entirely. Only you know the pattern. Your opponents spend their energy guessing while you spend yours preparing. Ask yourself, how many battles are you fighting right now that don't actually threaten anything that matters? And what's that costing you? The third strategy is where most people lose power before the battle even starts. Emotional reactions are weapons your opponents use against you. When you get angry, defensive, or visibly hurt, you're not expressing yourself. You're handing control of your behavior to the person who disrespected you. You're letting them reach inside you and pull levers. And here's the devastating truth. If someone has watched you long enough, they know exactly which levers to pull. They know which accusations make you defensive, which rumors make you angry, which challenges make you overreact. They've mapped you, and they use that map every single time. The ones who maintain power in the face of disrespect aren't the ones who feel less. They feel everything. They just don't let what they feel determine what they do next. That gap between feeling something and responding to it is where your power lives. Closing that gap is what makes you predictable and easy to manipulate. Widening it is what makes you dangerous. Next time someone disrespects you and you feel the heat rise, do one thing. Don't perform calm, don't force a smile. Just delay the response by 10 seconds. In those 10 seconds, ask yourself one question. What response serves my actual interests here? Not what feels satisfying, not what feels fair, what serves your interests? The answer to that question will almost never be what your instincts told you to do in the first second. Understand this. This isn't about becoming cold, and it's not about letting people walk over you. It's about control. Because real power doesn't belong to the loudest person in the room. It belongs to the one who controls themselves when it matters most. Silence, strategy, emotional discipline. These aren't weaknesses, they are advantages. They change how people perceive you, but more importantly, they change how you operate. From this point forward, don't react immediately. Don't engage in every battle, and don't give anyone the ability to control your emotional state. Watch how the dynamic shifts. Watch how people start to move differently around you. Watch how respect begins to appear without you demanding it. But here's the part most people won't accept. This path is difficult. It requires you to restrain your ego, to stay composed when everything in you wants to react, to think clearly when emotions are pushing you to act impulsively. Most people won't do it. So if you choose to live this way, you've already separated yourself from the majority. If this message resonated with you, don't just watch and move on. Apply it, even once. And if you're ready to move with intention, build real power, and let your results speak, subscribe. Because the next time you're tested, you won't respond the same way. And that changes everything.